where the axis is 23.4 degrees. Off being vertical leads you to 66 off horizontal. If you think this is just a coincidence, take a look at this. Earth is supposedly orbiting around the sun and moving at 66,600 miles an hour. Another thing I want to point out here, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this model with the Earth supposedly orbiting the sun, and of course the moon orbiting Earth. And while this is all taking place, Earth is supposedly rotating. Let's take a look at this image here of Polaris, the North Star. Take a look at this model here. Now, explain to me, for anybody out there, how is it possible for the North Star or Polaris to remain constant above the supposed North Pole while it's orbiting around the sun? It makes absolutely no sense because it doesn't happen. It does not take place. That's simple. Now let's take a look at this. So, like I said, the Earth supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. Gravity holds on the water, and the water is perfectly still. How is this possible? The Earth is supposedly spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Wouldn't you think the water would fly off? This is not possible. People can't grasp reality because all they have been fed are lies. I showed this image before, Under the Dome by Stephen King. Again, mockery in plain sight, truth in plain sight. And let's look at this space shuttle launch from Cape Canaveral in Florida. As I mentioned before, the reason they have these shuttle launches, or supposed shuttle launches, into space, off the coast, so basically these rockets can land right in the water, right in the ocean. That's what it's all about. And later on, again, you see the supposed space shuttles, which are nothing more than airplanes coming for a landing. It's just like a movie. It's all edited, fit together for the public. Just take a look at this image as well. You really believe this space shuttle is going to outer space? This is completely ridiculous. Now let's take a look at this image here put together by David from deep inside the rabbit hole. Just look at the flight paths the airlines make people take. You will not see plane crossing from South Africa to Australia. That would be, of course, the shortest route. Here's the flat Earth model. Like he states, there's no shortcuts. And of course, UN logo, the same exact thing. You can go to this one website, which is called Flight Radar 24. And it shows all this flight activity worldwide. Interesting enough, you see all these planes flying all over the place. Understand, the so-called northern hemisphere, with the flat Earth model, it does not affect flight paths. When you get to the south, that's where everything is stretched out. This is why you don't see these flights. Take a look here. You'll notice you'll never see, if you go to Flight Radar 24, you'll never see flights in the process of crossing from Southern and South America to South Africa or South Africa to Australia. What I witnessed myself watching it over time is you won't see an actual plane crossing, but right when it reaches land, then all of a sudden it appears on radar. How amazing. I'm talking about how the game is rigged with this matrix and why so many can't see or understand what's taking place. Let's look at some of the deceivers. Of course, the public school system is going to teach, the ball earth, which is expected when it comes to these so-called Christians, these truth speakers such as Ken Hovind. This is how they control the matrix. They're going to have him tell you the absolute 100% truth when it comes to evolution, but he's not going to tell you the truth about the flat earth. So many of his presentations, you'll see that globe in plain sight right in front of his desk. He's pointing at it. And again, giving you 95% truth when he talks about evolution being a lie. When it comes to the ball earth, he's going to deny it. He's going to deny the earth is flat. He's going to stick to the ball earth theory. This is how they operate. Let's take a look at Ken Hovind. He was a member of the Prophecy Club, nothing but a club of deceivers. I pointed this out before on my previous channel with all the Masonic hand signs. With this one with Dark Marquise. And it just so happens their zip code in Topeka, Kansas starts with 666. Now what are the chances of that? They go out of their way to have the occultic numbers in plain sight. Like I just referenced, 666, 777, the 33, the 911, always in plain sight. And also the signs and symbols, the sign of silence, all these supposed oath keepers of keeping secrets. Interesting enough, look at this Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield doing the same sign of silence. More recent news story with David Bowie supposedly passing away. He is part of the rigged game, the matrix that we live in. Now some might ask, if this is all true, why does the news say so? Why does the news expose this as truth? Understand, people that are awake already realize this. The media is 100% controlled. Some might say, well, what about my preacher? What about my pastor? Why don't they tell me the truth? You see the problem here? All the Masonic hand signs, just like all the rest of the deceivers. These are all Freemasons, all liars. The game is 100% rigged. Just look at John Hagee's hands here, the devil horns. Take a look at this hand sign that he does twice here. Just like Anton LaVey. These are all Satanists. When the Bible states Satan deceives the world, that is very literal, as you can see. So the people that go to church, that attend services, they don't hear their preacher say 9/11 is not what we're told. Sandy Hook was a hoax. What happened in Paris, France is a hoax. This is because all those involved, all of TV is 100% controlled. And again, this is how they control the Matrix. This is a topic I covered on my previous channel last year with the connection with the Falkland Wars and Deception Island, just north of Antarctica. You get a little bit of a close-up. And this is Deception Island here. Let's look at the relative closeness, if I can find it here. The tip of South America. Let's look at the Falklands. And the South Georgia Islands, if I can find it. There we go. The South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands, which of course are ruled by the Brits. And like I stated in my previous video last year, this is basically a strategic point. Let me back up here a little bit so we get a better idea. This is something I want to get into again. Now going back in time to the Falkland Wars in 1982, as I stated many times, the world is a stage. What was the Falkland Wars all about? And I believe, again, this is just a strategic point, the closest point to Antarctica, to the ring. And of all the continents, this is basically their base. I'm just taking a look at the UK overseas territories, and I find it pretty interesting. Like I said, with the Falklands, you have the South Georgia Islands, and they have this territory in red as part of their territory. Again, this is the strategic point. Talking about the royal family, the so-called elite that run this world, that own this world. Take a look at the U.S. Of course, you have New York. New York is in England. New Hampshire, you go to Australia even, is still owned and controlled by England. Don't let them fool you and make you believe they're independent and sovereign. The New South Wales, Queensland, of course all the territories in Africa that the royals own. Now let's take a look at this when it comes to Russia. So again, when I talk about the royal family owning it all, you see the connection with the royal family and Russia. Going back in time with the Romanovs, and again taking a look at the UK overseas territories, basically they all should be marked red. Here's something I found interesting, of course, with the Scottish Rite and Freemasonry of the UK. Take a look at the Russian coat of arms. Do you see the similarities, how people can't see how they all connect and how the world is a stage. Now, getting back on topic with Deception Island, let's just take a look at this image here. This unusual island. Let's take a look. It used to be a whalers colony, and I found this pretty interesting. Let's take a little close-up look at this. What do you see? A little Illuminati pyramid, and these look like obelisks. So what's the deal with this? This is pretty interesting stuff. Now, taking a look at Wikipedia's page on Deception Island, which I find pretty interesting, and you get down to the history of it, where it states in the history, the first authenticated sighting of Deception Island was by British sealers William Smith and Edwards Bransfield. This was back in January 1820. And they talk about the explorer, the American sealer, Nathaniel Palmer. And I found this pretty interesting. In November of 1820, Palmer remained for 2 days exploring the Central Bay. Palmer was the first to name the island Deception. And interesting enough, there's no official explanation why they call it Deception Island. I find that very interesting. Like I've stated, we live on a flat earth, and this is part of the deception. The closest point, this island, to Antarctica, which is the ring around the world. So you can forget about the supposed Antarctica Treaty from back in 1961. The world's a stage. It's owned and controlled by the bloodline. Just take a look at the occult of this Antarctica Treaty meeting from back in 2007. You got the triple X's. Like I said before in Pythagorean numerology, this is a hidden code for 666. And again, you look at the dates here. On the 30th to the 11th. In numerology, the 0 doesn't mean anything. You get 3 and 11. This is the cult of Freemasonry. Highest degree in the Scottish Rite of 33, of course. As I mentioned, the double-headed eagle. Some call it a phoenix. To me, it doesn't matter. It's all the same here with Russia as well. Again, going back here, like I said, only these supposed UK overseas territories were marked red. Forget about this. They own and control it all. Like I stated with Australia, you got New South Wales, you have Queensland, you have Russia, the connection with the Romanov family, you have India, of course. England had a huge role in India. You had all the territories in Africa. Get to the United States with, of course, District of Columbia. Columbia being a Masonic goddess. You have British Columbia in Canada. You have the country of Colombia in South America. And then you come to the gateway from Falkland Islands to South Georgia. Deception Island, like I stated, this is the gateway to the ends of the world. The most frequently asked question about the entire flat earth model that I get is about the sun and how it works on the flat earth. First off, like I always do, I have to lay the foundation before I even show any type of footage. This is the biblical flat earth with the sun and the moon and the stars within the firmament. We make it clear there are no planets. Planets do not exist. All we have is what you see here, like I mentioned, on the flat, fixed earth. Now taking a look at this photo across Lake Michigan with the Chicago skyline, like I mentioned before, this is approximately 60 miles over Lake Michigan with this photo. And these buildings should not be viewable due to the curvature of the earth, the supposed curvature of the earth. One thing to notice right off the bat, look how level the horizon is. On the supposed ball earth, this wouldn't be happening. Now people see the sun, they say, oh, the sun must be going around the ball of the earth, around the globe. And this isn't the case, and I'll explain that. It was taking place just like this model here with these telephone poles called the vanishing point. As you can see, all these telephone poles are the same height, but due to perspective, the one closest appears taller than the rest. You go down the line, the one furthest away seems very small, but of course, again, they're all the same height. The same concept with the sun. It appears to disappear. And let's take a look at more images here. The same basic concept with the vanishing point. Now, Look at this fence. Look at this railroad track. The further you go, the more narrow it seems, and it disappears. Again, with the telephone poles, same thing. I showed this night and day flat earth model before, and how the sun moves clockwise around the flat earth. Of course, the earth is stationary. The sun moves just like the Bible states. Understand with this model, it's not to scale, of course. The sun is much smaller, approximately only 30 miles across. And some might say, oh, this is just a model. Doesn't mean anything. Let's see it in action. And here you go. And this is a time-lapse video of the sun from the view over Lake Michigan, looking towards Chicago, taking a look, and again how the sun circles the earth, going eastward, and you can clearly see how the light is localized right where the clouds are. If the sun was truly 93 million miles away, the entire sky would be illuminated. You're going to see how small the sun actually is, and again how the light is localized as it moves away, going east. Just like the model I showed before. Let's take a look. You can clearly see that sun. You can see how that, like I said, that light, the light from the sun is localized right at this cloud. No way is this sun as large as we're told and as far as we're told. It's right in front of you. People need to unlearn what they have learned. This proves the sun is clearly under God's firmament. 100% clear as day. And there you go. There's the vanishing point as the sun circles the earth, just like in the model I showed earlier. Now taking a look at the moon at night, clearly see the clouds, and people have disputed me about this. Those are clearly the clouds behind the moon. I view this myself at night. I observe the skies very often. I've seen this with my own eyes. This is no illusion. Don't tell me that this moon is 238,000 miles away and you can see the clouds like this. There's no way. Not possible. Again, for even those that believe in the flat earth, they're disputing this. You understand, we're told you have to erase everything we're told in the schools, the history books. It's all lies. You've got to see things with new eyes. Everything we're told is the exact opposite of what it is. Now, taking a look at space.com's website, and you can just see by their logo with the Illuminati pyramid, you can tell who they are affiliated with. They work for those that are behind the scenes to deceive the masses. And reading the title for this article, why do planets look like stars in the night sky?